Thought for the day. Take the time to do the things that replenish your soul.
Welcome to 7 Minutes for Yourself. I'm Christina, and I'm so glad you've joined me for what I believe will be 7 of the most enriching minutes of your day. Let's take this time to reconnect with ourselves and improve our well-being.
In today's episode of 7 Minutes for Yourself, we're discussing some do's and don'ts of a personalized self-care routine. Have a listen.
Self-care is always important, but especially when life gets stressful or overwhelming, or when things feel scary or uncertain. I think having a self-care practice that works for you is so important and basically vital for our mental, emotional, and physical health. Do take time to process your feelings. And don't keep things bottled up. It depends on what works for you. I find for me, a great way to process my feelings is to kind of just sit with them for a while. So I will set my alarm for 15 or 30 minutes and allow myself to basically feel however I'm feeling, and then kind of just go on with my day after the timer goes off. I find that to be very helpful, but maybe for you it's something else, like going for a walk or for a run, or talking about your feelings with a friend. Don't feel that self-care is selfish. Self-care is about replenishing your own resources, and I know many people have trouble with that, prioritizing their own needs instead of helping others, but it is so important that you do, because we cannot be there for others or for ourselves if we're pouring from an empty cup, and you are absolutely worth it to prioritize your own needs when you need to. Do things that make you feel good. Dancing, going for a walk, reading a book, whatever you like. If there's an activity that puts a smile on your face, then try to do that as often as possible. I often find myself, if I'm not feeling too well, that it is because it's been too long since I've done something that puts a smile on my face. Also, don't do self-care that doesn't make you feel good. The first word in self-care is self, so personalize it. There is so much aspirational content out there about self-care that it might make you feel like that is what you're supposed to do, but one size does not fit all here. What works for someone else might actually make you feel miserable, and it's okay to acknowledge that. So for me, exercising in the morning is just something I cannot get behind no matter how I try, and that is perfectly okay. So personalize it and don't do the self-care activities because that's what others are doing, especially online. Do go back to the here and now and focus on your senses. Especially when you're feeling overwhelmed, scared, or stressed, when you're feeling worried and you're too much in your head, then try to practice getting back to the here and now by focusing on your senses. What's going on in your direct environment? Maybe you're hearing the traffic or the birds. Maybe you choose to focus on one of your plants for a while, or focus on how the air feels around you. Maybe you want to drink a cup of tea and focus on that. This is a small trick that works wonders. Don't feel like your problems don't matter because there are other issues going on right now that are worse. There has been so much going on in the world these last couple of years, but that doesn't mean that you are supposed to always feel happy and grateful because others have it worse, or that you are not allowed to talk about your issues and acknowledge them. You're allowed to feel pain, you're allowed to feel sadness, you're allowed to feel worried. We're all experiencing very complex emotions at times, and that is totally okay. So try to find a balance between, yes, realizing that you still have a lot to be grateful for, but on the other hand, also acknowledging your frustrations instead of feeling like they shouldn't matter. Do communicate with others what you need to stay happy and healthy. People usually expect you to do things in the way that you've always done them, unless you tell them otherwise. So tell people when you need a break, or let people know if you don't have the energy to do something and ask for their help, or let people know which activities you need to do regularly to stay happy and healthy. Don't ignore the signs your body is giving you. This could easily be its own video. I have so much to say about this as someone who finds this extremely difficult, which is also partly why I burned out a couple of years ago in the first place. This continues to be a thing for me, but I am trying really hard to do this because it's so important. When you're hungry, eat something. When you need to go pee, go pee. When you feel a headache coming on or some back pain, maybe check your posture, take a break for a couple minutes. If you're feeling tired, go to bed early when you can. If I could only give you one tip, it would be this one. Do respect your natural limits. Another one that is so important. I used to always feel so frustrated that I couldn't do more than I naturally could. But you know what? Nothing good is going to come from you not respecting your limits and from crossing them on an ongoing basis. So you need to know where your line in the sand is that says to here and no further, and respect that as often as you can, and be grateful for all the things that you are able to do instead of wishing that you could do more. Don't think that self-care has to look pretty or aspirational. I love that there's so much content about self-care online, but please don't feel like your self-care needs to look like that, because that's not always realistic. Maybe you don't have 5 hours to do a whole routine, or, I like to decompress by just wearing my cozy pajamas, no makeup, hair all over the place. It doesn't look pretty, but it helps me to decompress. Do get organized. If you're someone who feels better when you're planning things, try to focus on things that you have control over. So make lists, make plans. Usually whenever I feel stressed because I feel like I have 1,000 things to do, all it takes for me to feel better is to create a simple list, because it shows me that, first of all, it's not as much as I thought it was. And second, I can rest easy because they're all written down, so I know I won't forget them. Don't avoid confrontations where you need to establish boundaries.
That concludes today's episode of 7 Minutes for Yourself. Please take a moment to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts. Today and every day with your kiddo is a gift. Enjoy it. Thanks for tuning in.